So today we'll talk about things that if you make sure to avoid, then you will not end up making silly mistakes. So let me put it that way. So all of you are aware about the SAT exam, of course. So what's the good thing about the SAT exam, as opposed to other exams that you probably might be taking? Some of you might be thinking of taking the IIT JEE exam or AIEEE exam or some other exam, so you might be thinking about those exams, and in addition to the SAT exam. So the advantage about the SAT exam is that it is a standardized test. That means whether you are taking it from Delhi or Mumbai or California or Kathmandu, it's the same exam. So your performance is not going to vary depending on where you are from or which exam you took, etc. So it is very, very standardized. Moreover, the structure is fixed. Unlike other Indian exams, Indian exams mostly, the structure is fixed. Even down to the number of questions and number of minutes per section. So it is that structured. So because it is so structured, it's easier to prepare. It's always easy to prepare when you know what's in the syllabus, right? I mean, in your class 10th, 11th exams, it's kind of easy to prepare because you know what the syllabus. If you are just told that you have an exam on physics, and that can mean the entire world of physics, but luckily it's not. That's not the case. So in class 10, there's some concepts of physics that you will be tested on. In class 11, some more concepts of physics. So it's not random, just physics, chemistry. Similarly, the SAT exam, even the types of questions, everything is fixed. So that helps students to prepare for the exam. This is a major advantage over other entrance exams. So there are 3 sections, all of you probably know. I would not call it sections, and there are 3 segments rather: verbal, math, and the essay. So in verbal there are 2 sections. One is the writing and the other is the reading comprehension. In maths also there are 2 sections. One section you are not allowed to use the calculator. In the second section you are allowed to use the calculator, right? So there are 2 math sections and 2 verbal sections, and then there is the essay, right? So the verbal section is scored on a scale of 200 to 800. Maths also 200 to 800. So the essay is not included in this score. It is scored separately, right? So why are you guys taking the SAT exam? So you are taking the SAT exam to get admission in a college. Yes, so Hedvi has answered the exact question that that you are taking the exam to get into a university. So what you should consider: so yes, this section is this much marks, yes, this section is this much marks, essay has this much marks. So you should know what do universities look at, right? Now because this essay section is comparatively, earlier it used to be along with the main exam, but with the new SAT, the essay section is counted separately, so it is not included in this 1600 score, right? So the universities have not set any cutoff on the SAT, on the essay. Most universities need you to take the essay, but they have not set any cutoff. So so you can be so nothing, you need to take the essay section, but you are not going to get rejected because of the essay section. So that's what you need to know, because you have to think about the exam in terms of why you are taking the exam, in terms of what the universities want from you, right? Some of you mentioned, a couple of you mentioned that you want to do engineering. So if you want to do not just engineering, let's say if you want to do any science related program or engineering or math or physics, that kind of programs in the US, then you have to make sure that you get a 750 plus to get into a decent college. You need to get a 750 plus in your math section, right? So in case you, let's say, get a 800 out of 800 in your verbal and 700 in your maths, so the total may be 1500, but your maths score is not good enough, for the top colleges. So the score requirement, most of you probably think in terms of 1600, right? But you need to now think in terms of maths and verbal also, right? So depending on what program you want to apply for, if you are going for engineering or science related programs, you need to make sure that you get a minimum of 750, in the math section, which is kind of easier to get. It is very difficult to get a 750 in verbal, but comparatively easy, to get a 750 in maths. In fact, a lot of our students gets 800 out of 800, and that should be your score, right? So when you are preparing, Indian students are good, in maths. So you guys, you study far higher level maths in your school than the Americans. So your math is of a higher level already. So your target should be to get an 800 out of 800 in the math section. So once you get that 800 in the verbal, even if you get a 600 or 650, you still end up with a decent score. Right? Any questions till now? So now you can ask if you have any questions. Okay. Right, Rachit, essay, there is essay section in the SAT exam. So you have to write an essay. It's a part of the SAT exam. So in short, if you want a breakdown, of the SAT section wise, you get these are the two English sections, right? So you get 65 minutes to do 52 questions, then you get 35 to do 44, right? So you see, as you can see, so again, you have to now, you cannot, your strategy for the entire exam cannot be one uniform strategy, the strategy has to be different. For instance, if you see the writing language section, it's about speed, right? You have to know shortcuts, you have to know strategies that will help you save time. You are actually not even getting a minute for each question. So while preparing for the writing and language, you have to time yourself. You have to, it's not enough to get the questions correct. You have to find the shortest way, the easiest possible method to get the correct answer. So if anybody gives you the SAT paper and gives you like a day to do the paper, all of you will get 1600 out of 1600. The reason why you are not getting, why people don't get that very often, is that because it's a timed test and a lot of things come into the picture. You will be sitting for 230 minutes. 230 minutes, it's like 4 hours. You have to be sitting in one place. You have to be concentrating for 4 hours at a stretch. So that itself is a task, and hence the importance of the mock test, full length mock test, right? So in math, if you see, you have got 80 minutes to do 58 questions, right? So you have some room there. Okay, essay 15 minutes, one essay is extremely comfortable. We have lots of students who have prepared and taken the exams. They say that this 50 minutes one essay is extremely comfortable. So that's not the problem. Only thing is that the essay comes at the end of the exam. So you do 180 minutes, so 3 hours you are doing English and math, and after that you have to write the essay. So some fatigue sets in. So in essay also, it's important to carry pointers, what to write, what not to write, how to find the indicators that the essay that the writer wants you to write about. So there also you need shortcuts, right? So but of all these sections, the most the toughest, I would say, toughest in terms of time management is the writing and language section, where you have like less than a minute for each question. So when you're preparing for the SAT exam, you just keep in mind your strategy for each section needs to be different. Math should be focused on accuracy because you don't have that much time, right? You don't have that much time pressure, right? So your focus should be on accuracy. Do not make silly mistakes. Indian students are good in math. Just remember, you are better in math than your competition, right? You are better than any American, so you are better. You guys are better. So be confident, but do not also become overconfident. In math, it's extremely easy to get 800 out of 800. if you avoid silly mistakes, right? So if you get done 80 minutes, most of our students, they come back after the exam and they say that they had like 10 extra minutes, 15 extra minutes. So if you end up with 10-15 extra minutes, what you should do is go back and revise. Go back and revise. Okay, so I mean, when I just in the coming slides I will talk a little bit about how to even revise in intelligently. You cannot just randomly revise from question number 1 to the end, right? You have to revise intelligently, right? So I'll talk about that as well. Okay, everybody, I'm assuming, is aware of the contents of the exam, right? The exam structure and all the types of questions. Am I still audible? Okay, right. Okay, now what is SAT preparation? We discussed what is the SAT exam, but what is SAT preparation? What do you mean by preparing for the SAT exam? Any idea? Anybody, any guesses? What do you mean by SAT preparation? Don't tell me that it's preparing for the SAT exam, Okay. Your SAT preparation should be focused only on the SAT. It seems like a stupid or idiotic statement, but you will be surprised to know how this simple instruction is something that is not followed by most students. Instead of preparing on question types and accuracy and time management, students end up focusing on vocabulary and grammar. That's not the right way to go about it. Because vocabulary and grammar is limitless. You can know as much grammar as you want to. You can memorize the entire Wren and Martin grammar book. You can memorize the entire Oxford English Dictionary. There is still no guarantee that you will get a good SAT score. So the SAT preparation should be focused on question types, not general English, not grammar, on the types of question. What are the types of questions that are asked by the SAT, right? It should not be focused on grammar improvement. Forget all this, should not be focused on vocabulary improvement. So if you want to improve your grammar, if you want to improve your vocabulary, then do it, but that should not be confused with SAT exam preparation. Everybody should of course improve their vocabulary, that is a general life statement. It has nothing to do with the SAT exam. So whatever time you are spending for your SAT preparation should be focused only and only on SAT, not on not on random vocabulary improvement or random grammar. Yes, you have to focus on grammar, but only that bit of grammar that is going to be tested on the SAT. So you have to focus a little bit on vocabulary also, but only on those words, those frequently asked words, only those, not just overall vocabulary improvement. And your math skills, a lot of people go into they solve a lot of questions, right? It's not important. You should figure out first what are the strategies that you can apply. It has to be strategy oriented and not random solving of problems. And do not ignore the essay, okay? Because till fall 2017, universities have did not have any cutoff, but you never know. Whenever you are ready to apply, some of you might be applying for the fall 2018 session, some of you might be applying for fall 2019 session. So when you do that, by that time universities may come up with cutoffs. So don't worry too much about it, but at the same time don't ignore. So when you're preparing for the SAT exam, focus on quality over quantity. So as I said, it should not be about, oh, I did 500 questions, it should not be that. It should be more about the quality, So what do I mean by quality? So by quality, what I mean is that let's say you have solved like 20 questions in an exercise. So in those 20 questions, after you did the questions, you probably checked the answers and you saw that you got 5 wrong and 15 correct. So what do most of you do? You probably go back and check the ones that you got wrong, right? Yes, no? you go back and check the ones that you got wrong. Yeah, so that is wrong. You should be going back and checking all the 20 questions. Sometimes when you're solving a question, you may get stuck between two options. Let's say you get stuck between B and C, and you took a guess and you just marked B, and it turns out to be the correct answer. But did you actually get that question correct? No, you did not get that question correct, right? So when you are doing those, even when you are doing right from day one, when you are doing exercises, like any problems, please keep a piece of paper with you. Question number 2, let's say you got stuck between option C and D. So write question 2 C/D, write it on the piece of paper. Then maybe question number 15, you got stuck between A and D. So write A, D question against the question number. So when you then check the answer, what happens is that after you solve 20-25 questions, you actually do not remember which options particularly you got stuck with, right? So keep a piece of paper, keep noting down there, and after you're done with the test, of course you see which questions you got correct or which questions you got wrong. Then go back and check your cheat sheet, right? The sheet like where you noted down the confusion options, and checked whether you are clear about why one of them is correct and the other one is not. Okay, so that is extremely important. So that's the way to prepare, whether it's math or verbal. This is what you should be doing. Don't check only the questions that you got wrong. You should be checking all the questions, particularly the ones where you got confused between 2 or 3 options, right? The reason for this is that no matter how many questions in the world you do, you will never get that same exact question in the SAT exam. Unlike your school exams, if you do a certain number of questions, there's a high probability that some of them might get repeated. It happens, right? Some questions that you practice comes up in your school or college school exams or in your entrance exams. It happens, right? But it is never going to happen in SAT. So the focus should not be on the question that you are doing. The focus should be on the strategy that you are doing to get the correct answer. So Rishita, that is how the SAT exam is built. For every SAT, every SAT exam, they make a fresh set of questions from scratch. They don't use recycled questions. So there may be tons of books in the market, official questions, Khan Academy questions. None of them will come in the exam. Because the questions are supposed to be sample questions, right? The questions are not supposed to be just whatever in that question pool from which the questions will come. So when you are solving the questions, that's what I mean by don't focus on quantity. You should focus on quantity when there is a chance that some of them might get repeated in the exam. But in SAT, that is never going to happen. So do not focus on quantity. Focus on your quality of preparation. So definitely do official questions. That's very important. Do official questions. Don't just randomly do tons of material. If you are spending 20 minutes solving 20 questions, then you should spend the next 15 minutes reviewing the 20 questions. Of the 4 options, you have to be like 100% sure why the other 3 options are wrong. Okay, because you will not get that same question on the exam, but the same strategy or the same rule may come or will come in your exam, right? So always be 100% sure about why the other 3 options are wrong. That's the way to go about your preparation. So this is what I mean by importance of revision. You may get done before, again on the day of the actual exam also, you will have the question paper. So any question that you are not sure about, just mark a star against it, not on the OMR sheet of course, but on a test paper, mark a star or make a cross sign, some indication, so that if let's say you are left with only 3 minutes, then quickly you can review these questions that you are not very confident of, instead of starting from question number 1. Now again, trust me, on exam day, after you are done with a section, you will actually not remember which question you had doubts. You will have to read each question. So some of you, I saw you guys are taking the May SAT, right? So and you are probably taking the full-length mock test, right? So to start doing this even when you are doing the full-length mock test. So when you are solving a question, if you are not very sure, mark it with some, cross, circle, whatever you are comfortable with. And after you are done with the section, and if you have like 5-6 minutes of time left to do revision, then first revise these questions where you had doubts or where you are not very sure of the answer, right? And then if you still have got time left, you can then revise the other questions. Okay. Anybody has tried doing this with whatever mock test you have taken till now? Has anybody tried this out? Okay, great. Okay, that's good to know. Rest of you, if you have not, then this is a very handy trick. So how to practice, right? So and this is, I'm not talking about the full length test now. Now when you're preparing for the exam or when you're studying for the exam, let's go back to your school exams. So on the day when you have a let's say English exam, the entire 3 hours is on English, right? Is about English. The day you have a biology exam, the entire 3-hour exam is about biology, right? So you don't need to switch mentally, but SAT is difficult because you are expected to switch mentally. You need to be in a different frame of mind to be while doing verbal. You need to then switch gears and do math, and then you again have to switch gears and write an essay. So this mental flip-flop is a little tiring. That's another reason why students don't get 1600 out of 1600 often, because this mental switching of gears is a little tiring, right? So so you need to then build this build this ability or build this mental agility right from the beginning of preparation. One good way to do that is that even if you're studying for only half an hour a day for SAT, make sure that you do 15 minutes of math and 15 minutes of verbal. And in that 15 minutes, extremely important to do RC. Because how many of you don't like RC that much? How many of you don't like reading comprehension as much as you like the other sections? Anybody? Okay, one. Everybody else likes reading comprehension section equally? Okay, that's good. But okay, right. So okay, now this makes more sense. So in all my years of interacting with students, and I have been doing it for 11 years. So in my 11 years of interacting with students, this is 80% students do not like reading comprehension. They find it's boring, and I do admit it's boring, right? So but you don't have a choice, you have to do it. It's a part of the exam. So when you don't like something, there's a natural inclination to not do it or just do it half-heartedly. But just remember, you don't have a choice. You have to do it on the actual exam. It's one whole section. So even if you're spending only half a day for your SAT preparation, or not half a day, I mean half an hour for your SAT preparation, divide the time equally among math, reading, and grammar, right? So that way you will first of all force yourself to do reading comprehension. Secondly, you are also developing that agility, that the ability to retain your concentration and high level of performance when you're switching between math, English, and then the essay, right? So keep that in mind. Now when to practice, this has more to do with the full-length mock test. So your SAT exam happens at 9 AM, right? So when you get down to doing the full-length test, first of all, always do it in full-length mode. It's not that okay, today I will do 2 sections and tomorrow I will do 2 sections, or okay, let me do 2 sections and then I'll have my lunch and come back and do 2 sections. So if you do that, then you will be actually wasting a mock test, right? So give the full-length mock test in full-length mode. That means start with English and end with the essay. Take the entire 230 minutes of it, right? Now you will, when you are taking full-length test in full-length test mode, you are developing a lot of skills. First of all, the ability to sit and think and concentrate for 4 straight hours. Then secondly, that the mental switching that I was telling you about, and thirdly, writing that essay at the end, right? So you need to develop all these skills. So it's extremely important to take at least 5 full-length mock tests, at least 5. Okay. Now when should you be taking this full-length test? You should be taking this in and around the exam time. That means if your exam starts at 9 a.m., your SAT exam is going to start at 9 a.m. on a Saturday. So you should be taking your full-length mock test at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. You know, it need not be on a weekend. It can be on any day, but it has to be in the morning slot. You should you should prepare yourself. You should prepare your brain to think best, to stretch itself the maximum, during the time when the actual SAT is going to be held. So these are some small things that you need to keep in mind when practicing. And trust me, these small things, you might be right now thinking that these are just way too small things, but SAT in itself is an easy exam. What makes it difficult is that when people don't take care of these small things. Okay, now next is when and how to register for the exam. So you guys know, right, that nowadays SAT will be conducted only 4 times a year. Earlier it used to be 6 times. Now the June SAT is gone. So those of you who are taking the May SAT, you'll be taking in May, of course. The rest of you will have your first shot at the SAT in October. Okay, and so you guys know your school schedule. Some of you probably have exams in November, some of you will have exams in October. So keep that in mind and plan your SAT exam accordingly. If you want to go to a top 10 college, how many of you want to go to a top 10 15 college, top 10 15 university? Anybody? Top 15. Okay, so a lot of you. So in addition to your SAT, regular SAT, you will also be taking, you will also be requiring to take the SAT subject test. So June is the best time, because the regular SAT is not going to happen. So if not, then later also you can take it, obviously. But if you plan to take both SAT and SAT subject tests after November, then you will be in trouble, right? So you have one of the SATs, whether it's the SAT subject test or SAT regular, you have to take it in October, right? So plan things accordingly. Earlier it was easier, but now SAT is going to be conducted only 4 times a year, so things are you need to do far more planning, right? Yeah, I think I cannot stretch enough, I cannot stress enough on this, that you have to focus on strategies, not on quantity of questions, not on whether you got all questions correct or not. The focus should be on, did you do it within the time limit? And to be able to do it within the time limit, you will need these strategies. Okay, Rachit, so glad that you could join us for a while. I hope you learned something informative. So bye. Okay, now fun part. Let's do a question. Okay, everybody can see the question on your screen? It's a very simple question. It's extremely simple. All of you will probably get it correct. What is the answer? Yes, anybody? What's the answer? Okay, the correct answer is C, but again, my objective was not to focus on the correct answer. I just wanted to showcase a strategy. Okay, because I have been talking about strategies, and this is the type of questions that will come in the writing section, right? So in writing section, how many questions do you have to do in how many minutes? Yes, do you remember how many questions do you have to do in how many minutes? 44 questions in 35 minutes. Right? Tough. So even though it's a small question, but a lot of you probably started by reading this, right? In George Orwell's famous allegorical blah blah novel Animal Farm. So all of you read this, right? All of you read this, okay? Did you? So when you saw this question, what did you do? What was the first thing that you do? You read the question, right? In George Orwell's famous allegorical novel Animal Farm, the pigs were the smartest. You guys read that? Just yes, please let me know. Did you? That's how you did it, right? Yeah, that's wrong. So all of you did the wrong thing. So what you should be doing forget whenever you get this type of questions, forget the question. Don't read the question. Read the answer options, right? So A means what? Yet, right? So your answer options are yet, but, and although, right? But, although, yet, all three of them represent contrast. There's something opposite is going to happen. Therefore, without even reading, and so you cannot pick one over the other. So therefore, without even reading the question, the answer is C. So if you go with this strategy, do not overcomplicate your life. Just go with the, and this is just one of the strategies that we of course teach you. I mean, you will need these strategies, to be able to get 44 questions, correct in 35 minutes. Okay, everybody understood, right? And everybody agrees with the logic as well, right? So you cannot pick one among three answer choices which mean the same thing. You have to go with the other one is by default, right? Okay, so so this is what we do. This is what you guys are supposed to do. Find the strategies, apply the strategies. Now this question though is not directly related. One more tip I would like to give you. Some of you are taking the May SAT, so extremely important. In SAT, you will find a lot of difficult words, difficult names and words, like in George Orwell's famous allegorical novel. So reading that itself is a little tough. So now one simple thing, whenever you come across something that starts with capital letter, that means it's a name of something. Does not matter what the name is. So read as X. You're making your life easier, right? That 5 milliseconds that you are spending in trying to pronounce it correctly is supposed to distract you. That's the objective of the SAT exam, right? So you just read it in X's famous novel. Forget it, whatever it is. Always make your life easier. Anything between the commas, don't worry about reading it. It's just going to be the name. These are some reading skills. Even if you have to read the question, these are some of the reading skills that you read it in X's famous novel. The pigs were the smartest animals in the group. So now you are making your reading easy. You are saving time. And these strategies, these strategies is not applicable only for the only for this type of questions. It is applicable to the questions in the entire writing section. Ignore stuff between the at the first go. You don't have to read the stuff between the commas. They're usually a description of what came before, right? So you can do away with that. Do not read the words with capital letters. Don't try to pronounce them. They are just they are just proper nouns. It doesn't matter what they are. It can be anything. It doesn't really matter. You just read them as X. Okay, that helps. Did you understand what I was trying to say? And you can, by the way, apply the same logic while reading passages as well. Anything first, anything proper noun, just read as A, B, C. Or in this case, if you are comfortable, just read as in Geo. In Geo's famous novel, don't bother about the rest of it. Okay, so ready to do another question? Another question? How many of you want to do another question? Okay, so here you go. Try to do it right now. Don't read the question now. No, just read, Right. Okay. Again, as I said, just like the previous question, the focus is not on what the correct answer is, because that's not that important. The focus is on the strategy. Now, for this type of questions, this type of questions are called sentence correction. That means a portion of the question is underlined. This portion can either be right or wrong. So if it's wrong, then you have to replace it one of the B, C, D options. If it is right, then you have to pick A. So everybody knows the concept of the sentence correction questions, right? So now whenever in sentence correction questions, now this is the strategy, right? Strategies are always generalized, by the way, right? They are not going to be about one specific question. So in sentence correction question, whenever the underlined portion starts after the comma, so there is this comma, you guys see this? So whenever the underlined portion starts after the comma, then check for one rule, which we in Jamboree we call it the comma subject rule. Okay, so let me explain the comma subject rule to you. So before I do that, I just hear these three sentences, right? Number one, the first sentence is, John dropped his wallet while walking out of the store. Okay, heard it right? John dropped his wallet while walking out of the store. That's the first sentence. Second sentence is, walking out of the store, comma, John dropped his wallet. Okay, is that correct? Is the second sentence correct? Yes, no? Is the second sentence correct? Yes. Okay. The third sentence is, walking out of the store, comma, John's wallet fell down. Is the third sentence correct? Walking out of the store, comma, John's wallet fell down. So the third sentence is wrong. The third sentence is wrong because it seems as if it was John's wallet who was walking out of the store. Was it John's wallet? No, it was John who was walking out, right? So now we don't teach much grammar, right? So in a sentence there is usually a hero of the sentence, or the doer. That doer is called the subject, right? So in this sentence it is John. John is the one who is doing the whole walking and all, right? So the SAT, the most preferred type of sentences are the sentences that begin with the subject. So John dropped his wallet. That the first sentence that I said, that is the most preferred version on the SAT exam, right? In case that is not available, in case that is not one of the answer choices, then the second one is the one where you have to go to, right? So if the subject of the sentence is not coming in the beginning of the sentence, it has to come immediately after the comma, right? Not 2 words after the comma, not 1 word after the comma, not 3 words after the comma. It has to come absolutely immediately after the comma. Everybody clear with this comma subject rule? If the subject of the sentence is not, if the sentence is not starting with the subject of the sentence, then the subject has to come absolutely immediately after the comma. That is the rule. Okay, so now see, in grammar there are tons of rules. So on exam day, you just can't try and fit every rule and see, oh, is this the rule that I'm going to check for, or which is the rule. So there are some indicators. Now this comma, underlined portion starting after the comma, is the indicator that most probably subject comma rule is getting tested. So in this case, all you have to do is check whether the subject is coming in the beginning of the sentence or not, right? So let's read. It says, not allowed to attend school as a child due to religious, gender, something, doesn't matter. So not allowed to attend school as a child. So who are we talking about? So the subject of the sentence is a is a human being. We can all agree to that, right? The subject of the sentence is a human being, right? So after the comma, we need the name of a human being. That's all. So now what we're going to, now that we know that yes, it is actually testing for comma subject rule, and we now just have to see whether the subject is coming immediately after the comma or not. So in option A, so after the comma we have got Begum Ruqaya's science fiction. So Begum Ruqayyah's science fiction is not a human being, so option A is out. I don't even have to read all of the rest of this stuff. In option B, I am seeing science fiction. Science fiction is also not the name of a human being, so that's out. In option C, I am seeing Begum Ruqayyah, and it's a human being. How do we know? It's starting with starting with capital letter. It's a proper noun, so it's a human being's person's name. So this may be the correct answer, but I have to eliminate the option D as well. So here it's again science fiction. Science fiction is not the name of a human being, so option D out. C is your correct answer. Okay, so in this question the trick is to just first see that the underlined portion is starting after the comma. Once you have done with your preparation, you will know that, oh, let me check for comma subject rule. Then all you are doing is that you are reading the first few words of the underlined portion. Did you notice that we did not even read about whatever all of this stuff was? We didn't even have to bother about that, right? We are just checking for the few words. We are just checking whether the subject of the sentence is coming absolutely immediately after the comma or not. Okay, so was this easier than reading the entire sentence and reading all the options? Sometimes what happens is that all these options sound so similar. Let's say you read the option B completely, then you read the option C completely. By the time you are done with reading option D, you will forget what option B and C were, and you will just end up where you started. It's extremely confusing, right? That's where you need these strategies. So doing 44 questions in 35 minutes is not a problem if you apply strategies, right? Okay, everybody having fun? Cool. So I hope you learned a couple of new techniques today. Right, okay. So in reading comprehension, now I know reading comprehension is not your favorite, it's not your favorite subject, so I'll try to give you some strategies for that as well. So, order of question is extremely important. So you don't have to do, just because in a passage, let's say there are 11 questions, there's a huge passage and there's 11 questions, question number 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, right? So you don't have to do question number 1 first, right? In fact, most of the time the question number 1 is about the primary purpose or the main idea of the passage. So just you can leave it till the end. After you are done solving 10 questions, you will have a better idea of what the main idea is. So leave that question. Anytime you have a question about main idea, primary purpose, etc., solve it at last. If there are 11 questions associated with that passage, do it at number 11. No, don't do it in the beginning. That will itself help you get a lot of the primary purpose questions correct, right? So if the passage is too huge, break it down. One interesting thing about SAT reading comprehension is that, let's say the SAT, let's say that there are 4 paragraphs, 1, 2, 3, 4. So questions related to this first portion would come first, the second portion will come second. It will never happen that the some content or something that is mentioned in the 4th paragraph is coming in question number 3. So that never happens. So if read, sometimes you may get some really abstract and weird passages where it is extremely difficult to understand what is happening or what is being said. In that case, forget about understanding. You don't get extra points for understanding the passage, by the way. You get points only for getting the questions correct, right? So get down to business, get down to like solving questions directly. So read the first paragraph, read the questions to find out what questions are being asked on that first, on those, then solve that, then read the second paragraph, then solve the related questions, then 3rd paragraph. Once you break it down, and there will be 2-3 questions where the questions are about the entire passage. So once you are done with the done with solving 7-8 questions, you will be in a better position to answer the questions that are related to the contents of the entire paragraph, right? So please do that. Try it out. Anybody has difficulty reading, remembering and understanding long passages? Anyone? Okay, so Hidanshu, try this out. Try this technique out. In fact, what I would suggest that you should do is that take a paragraph, first solve it the way you have been solving it. Don't look at the answers, then again solve the same paragraph using this technique, and then match the answers. If you realize that this method is helping you getting more questions correct, then go with this method, right? And I mean, it's not necessary that it will work for everybody. Okay, so try it out, do an experiment and then find out. In reading comprehension, is extremely important not to use your knowledge, right? So the passage can be something about the solar system, where it is saying that there are only 3 planets, and the earth has 5 moons, so just don't forget about it. Your questions are going to be about whatever is being said in the passage. The questions are not going to be about what you know or what the truth is. Doesn't really matter. So do not use your own knowledge. So whenever you get actually passages on topics that you do not have any information about, very surprisingly you will get a lot of the questions correct, so that happens because you are not using your own intelligence. You are just doing it based on the passage. Okay, so just a very rapid revision to the first question that I asked you. Why are you taking the SAT? To get admission in a college, right? So don't lose sight of that. Forget about improving your grammar, forget about improving your math skills, focus on strategies, focus on getting a good SAT score. You can get an excellent score in the verbal section of SAT, and your vocabulary may be pathetic. It doesn't matter. Universities are going to get the SAT score. They are not going to do a separate test about your vocabulary and your English skills, right? SAT is a reasoning test. Apply strategies, you will get a good score. Great, thanks. Good night, guys.